One who is visiting from wherever they may be, visiting us on the YouTube channel. We Unitarian Universalists of Lake Norman are an open and inclusive congregation. Our members walk diverse paths to find meaning and purpose, but we are united in our belief in the inherent worth and dignity of all, and by the responsibility to express our faith through acts of justice and compassion. My name is Greg Davis, and I've been an active member of this congregation for about 1.5 years. I've been a UU all my life. But I'm very happy to be here. Our musicians today are going to be, as we're very fortunate, Mike Alec and Eddie Gunn. And our speaker today is the Reverend Pat Jobe, who has led our congregation since the fall of 2020, a little bit. There's more to be said about Pat, but I didn't write it in my thing here. So I think most of you know Pat and experience where he's come from and what he's done for all of us. So that's Pat Jobe. We start our service and other activities by lighting a candle inside a chalice and speaking the words that call us to the occasion. Please join me in saying today's chalice lighting words, which are in your order of service. We light this chalice to illuminate the world we seek. In our search for truth, may we be just. In our search for justice, may we be loving. And in loving, may we find peace. And now we have some opening words by Pat Jobe.
Jim Arnold and Elaine and Linda and I got to see Natalie Hellig this afternoon. I have a hard time getting used to that idea. She brought these flowers. And she brought these flowers because she says she feels so supported by this congregation. So many people have reached out to her. So many people have been kind to her. And this is a token of her gratitude. The opening words are not really words. They're images. I want to ask you to think about the stars shining in the pre-dawn sky. The moon that was shining this morning. And the hundreds and hundreds of ice crystals that had frozen on my lawn, among my unraked leaves, that my dogs walked over at 5 o'clock this morning. I think that should suffice for opening words. But Ed Boy is here. He just announced Julia's birthday. He did not announce the fact that his book is out. His book is fresh off the press. He says he spent 5 years working on it. I spent easily a year working on it. Anything that's wrong with the book is my fault. But I told Ed he could talk for 5 minutes. I also told him that I have been selling books since 1998, and I have never sold more books than 10% of the crowd. And I did a head count. We've got just under 25 in the room. So Ed, you don't stand a chance of selling more than 3 books. Yeah. $3 from the sale of his book are going to the Dog Fence Ministry.
He graciously allowed me 5 minutes. Now, I want to ask, is that regular time or preacher time? Oh, okay. All right. Now, Pat's going on his sales. Mine may pique your interest even more because the title of this book, and by the way, it is so neat to be able to hold this because I've been looking at it for 5 years on the computer. And to get this, it's like, oh, I've given birth. And if real birth's any harder than having done this and produced it and published it, then I don't want to give birth to anything. Babies, that way. Anyway, is this the Jesus you are looking for? And the subtitle is A Compelling Journey Beyond Traditional Church Teachings. And that's the whole point of this book, is so many people have been burned out by traditional church and the same old stuff over and over again. So that's it. I'm not going to tell you who the Jesus is you're looking for. You'll have to decide that for yourself. But I can tell you this much, that this Jesus, if you'll read it, you'll find out he's probably a Unitarian. And they are outside for $15, and 20% goes, that's $3 a book, and 25, at least maybe 12, 50, 50%. And I don't hope that doesn't insult you. If you only sold 10%. Anyway, it's a good cause. If you don't have a check or you don't have money, I have IOU cards out there with my address on them. Now, Pat said I could do that, and I am very comfortable doing that with this crowd. Now, the more conservative crowd, I'd be afraid they'd take the IU card in the book and burn them. So anyway, thank you.
You're up, Mike. What a show. What a show. And I mean that in the nicest way. In the nicest way. Kathy and Kim and Linda are back with us. They were with us last week, and we didn't run them off. And Carol's here. Carol, welcome. Carol is Martha Tiller's daughter, and for those of you who didn't know Martha Tiller, Carol is trying her best to channel her mama.
You just missed out.
That's right. Nah. We're counting on you to bring her to life over and over. What is sacred? What might we hold in our hands? What might we hold in just this little bit of space that we might set aside and call sacred? What might we honor? What might we value higher than something that we value a little lower? Or is our value system even about up and down, high and low? What do we put here? What do we put here? Michael Keaton was in a movie about 30 years ago called One Good Cop. And the movie opens with a gunfight between cops and robbers, cops and bad guys. And for a moment, Keaton is trapped in the basement of a building and the gunfire is happening all around him. And he's not sure he's going to make it. But after that scene is over and he has survived, he picks up his phone and he calls his wife and he says very breathlessly, "I'm alive. I'm alive." And you can tell from the emotion he puts behind the statement that he's mighty glad that he's alive. The movie proceeds into a story about bad cops and good cops. And Keaton is presented with a choice of whether he is going to work with the bad cops and start taking graft and start feathering his own nest, or whether he's going to expose some of these bad cops. And when he gets to the end of the movie, there's actually a moment where he is threatened at the point of a gun by one of the bad cops. But with it being Hollywood, it turns out okay. The bad cop is arrested, and Keaton walks away, and he picks up his phone, and he calls his wife, and he says, "I'm alive. I'm alive." So do we value life that way? Mary, you know a little bit about it. Mary's come through open heart surgery, and I'm so sorry you missed Natalie. She would love to have seen you. Natalie was upright. Natalie was smiling, wasn't she, Jim?
A look is worth 1,000 words.
She looked
great.
She looked great. She was alive. She's alive. We need to see, hear, touch, smell, and taste. Maybe even use a sixth sense to experience what is really going on. And it's not so easy in the material world. It's not so easy in what Madonna calls material girls. It's not easy. In the movie Cabaret, we hear Joel Grey sing, "Money makes the world go round." That clinking, clanking sound. And it's hard to argue against such a song, such an idea, such an affirmation when gold and oil and machine guns seem to rule the world. I will still make the argument, and I know most of you will agree with me, when we see, hear, and feel how much we love our grandchildren and others who are dear to us, we know that it is love and not money that makes the world go round. In small, delicate ways, love wins. In small, delicate ways, love wins. We know it because we see it, we hear it, we remember it, and deep in our hearts, we feel it. In a physical world where everything is measured, we feel deep in our hearts that love is beyond measuring. And maybe consider this: the fact that it is beyond measuring might make it best of all. When Charles Wesley was trying to write about Jesus at Christmas time, he wrote, "Love divine, all loves excelling, joy of heaven to earth come down." This reflection may feel like overstating the obvious. Okay, maybe it is. But remember, we are living through the season of buying and selling gifts and football tickets and basketball tickets. Rituals that suck great oceans of money out of the pockets of regular folks like us and into the bank accounts of people who already have more money than they will ever spend. This may sound like a cranky complaint about which nothing can be done, but something can be done. We can remember the value of love, those we love, those for whom we feel a tenderness of heart, those people who lost their homes in the mountains during Helene, the war-weary, the hungry. Yes, this is overstating the obvious. There are at least two value systems in our present world. One which values the massive outpouring of buying and selling, the other which values the hug, the kiss, the touch of love. That second value system is available to people with no money. As sad and crazy as it may make us, we know there are people with no money. Some sleeping in tents in the mountains of North Carolina, some sleeping in refugee camps in Gaza and Ukraine and Sudan, and now returning to what is left of their homes in Syria. Those of us who depend on money cannot imagine what it must be like to live without it. As little as we might want to think of these war-weary and storm-tossed sisters and brothers, we know love is sustaining them. The huddled masses referred to on the base of the Statue of Liberty are huddled in love for each other. Parents are loving their children. Lovers are finding each other in the worst of circumstances. Our value system of dollars and cents pales by comparison. For those who have so little, the value they can see and hear and touch and feel comes from their abiding love for each other, and maybe that love that is said to be from the spirit world. Now, whether you believe in the possibility of a spirit world or not, those who do believe in it consider it source energy. Does that mean anything to you? The idea of source energy? In a world without spirit, there is only the physical mechanics of sunshine and rain, that which can be measured, weighed, counted, and touched, and seen and tasted and heard. Yet those who do believe in a spirit world see immeasurable connections everywhere. The sunshine connects to the clouds and the crops and is seen refracted in the drops of dew that cling to the tips of leaves of grass. We had Chalice Circle the other day, and we looked out on the surface of Lake Norman, and the diamonds were dancing in the sunlight. The mechanical becomes mystical, romantic even, if we let ourselves see with the eyes of young children. We can become excited by the beauty of a butterfly, the sound of a harp, even raindrops dancing in the street. When my brother and I were little, our mother would take us to the living room window when there was a hard rain falling on the street outside, and the raindrops would splash up and they would form the wings of angels. And she would say, "Watch the angels dance." As John Lennon wrote so well, you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Someday you'll join us and the world will live as one. Those words are stitched on a quilt that hangs in the lobby of this building just before you get to the kitchen, just above the water fountain. Check it out on your way out. There you have it. The obvious has been overstated. Love wins. Who we are, what we do, how we behave, all of it reaches a higher and higher crest on the waves of love. We cannot always feel love. Sometimes the most loving thing to do is create a healthy boundary and say to someone who wants to hurt us, no, that's as far as you get to come. Come no closer. The door is closed. We hope those sad and hard moments are rare. We hope to have more chances to embody love, to say the door is always open and the path is free to walk. As soon as I said that, Mike Alec remembered that Glenn Campbell sang that one time. The door is always open and the path is free to walk. Yeah, gentle on my mind. We love to think that most of the time we can say, come on in here, baby. Let me hold you in my arms. Are you hungry? Here, sit down. Let me find you something to eat. That open, loving heart was embodied after the horrible shooting of Gabby Gifford. Many of you remember that the Congresswoman survived the shooting and that her husband, Mark, is now the U.S. Senator from Arizona. But until this past weekend, I had forgotten that 6 people died in that shooting, including a little girl. As her funeral approached, Kat Sinclair, a local Unitarian Universalist, heard that the Westboro Baptist Church planned to protest at her funeral and shout at mourners as they entered the sanctuary to remember the little girl. Along with other members of her congregation and other friends, she built cloth angels out of large sheets of fabric and PVC pipe. And they created a wall of these cloth angels that hung between the mourners and the protesters from Westboro Baptist Church. That story came from our friend Ann Harrison, who also spoke here and is the director of religious education for the Bluffton, South Carolina UU. Her telling the story was another small act of the kind of love we have been considering today. Can you see that wall of cloth angels protecting those mourners, separating them from the Westboro Baptist Church, folks? Now you have had the obvious overstated. What will you do with it? I know that the grandparents among you, I know what you're going to do. You'll hug your grandchildren one more time and tell them how precious they are, and you will have a wonderful time doing it. Down the road, as those grandchildren or other objects of our love remember those hugs and those words of encouragement, they will value them far more deeply than any Super Bowl tickets or toys forgotten under some Christmas tree. Love will last. Such a small thing, a hug, a kiss, touch, an encouraging word. What will you do with it? What touches you as you think about this obvious overstatement? Now, Greg, you got to come help me shepherd this crowd.
Time for some talk back, eh?
It's time for some talk back.
Talk
Yes, yes.
So, what a great topic, huh?
Thank you.
Love will conquer all. We got to remember that. Love will conquer hate. Only love can conquer hate.
That's right.
And we certainly need to
Yeah.
mount that battle these days, don't we?
Yeah, yeah. Light drives out darkness and love drives out hate. What do you have?
Mike?
What's your best recommendation for keeping love in your heart when you're in turmoil or in stress or concerned about someone else?
Okay, I'm going to repeat your question because we have folks at home. In fact, I think Loretta and Tracy are watching this afternoon. They told me they were going to. When you are challenged by anger, fear, anxiety coming to you from another person, what I work to think about, and I don't always do it, but my intention is I remember that they're traumatized children. Awful people had awful childhoods. That's a good generalization. May not be true in every case.
Mm.
But we know, for instance, that Hitler and Saddam Hussein both were horribly, horribly abused as children. Remember that little child.
You know, speaking of movies, one that really impressed me and the very ending of it was so powerful that it's just stuck with me, and that's Schindler's List.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
When he put on the prison garb
Right.
because he felt like he hadn't done enough, I guess.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, the love that man had in that kind of setting was
Right.
just amazing.
Yeah. He saved 1,600 Jews from the gas chambers. And at the end of the movie, he picks up a gold pin that he was wearing. And he holds up that gold pin and he says, "This would have saved one more Jew." He said, "Why didn't I sell that gold pin?" And then he looks over at his car and he says, "I could have saved another dozen if I'd have just sold that car." Because he bought them from the Nazis. He bought the Jews that he saved from the Nazis. Very powerful movie. Very powerful. Anybody else? Yes. Sue, come up here. Come up here. You're on TV. You're on TV.
I have to talk all the time.
Yeah. We love you, Sue. Don't forget.
But the end of that movie was also when the people that he had saved walked past and put a stone on the gravestone.
Yeah.
And to see how the love that he had spread out to this, large group of people. That was the real end that I saw in it, that it brought the love back in.
Yeah. He saved 1,600, and by the time Spielberg made the movie, I think there were 6,700 descendants of those 1,600. They call themselves Schindler's Jews. Anybody else? There's a lot of love in this room.
The power of love.
A lot of love in this room. And when Natalie walked in here with her son Matt this afternoon, you could feel it, couldn't you, Jim? Yeah. She said it had meant so much to her after her open heart surgery to have the support of this congregation. And I know many of the rest of you have felt it too. It's a good thing.
So now how about a little musical reflection by Mike, who always comes up with a great musical reflection.
Batting 1,000.
Play us something nice, Mike.
You want to play in G? I'll tell you what the song is when we're done with it. Come on, Eddie, let's go. Come on, Eddie, let's go. Come on, Eddie, are you ready? Come on, Eddie, let's go. He writes this song about me.
I did
He
write a
put
song.
it on it. He
We'll
sent
play it
to
next
me.
time.
That's it.
I have to
Okay.
get it approved by the
Oh, yeah.
jury first.
The committee.
Knee deep in the snow, across the fields, mean winds blow. You light the fire, you make it bright. The greatest gift, it's you tonight. Just above the world to see, the stars align for you and me. The wonder and the mystery, the miracle of love. Listen to children sing, open up and let it ring. hearts are pure, their song is true. The gift of love awaits for you. Just above the world to see, stars align for you and me. Wonder in the mystery, the miracle of love. Snow falls, hearts rise, stars shine in your eyes. The wonder and the mystery, the miracle of love. Knee deep in the snow, time of year, I think you know. You light the fire, you make it right. The greatest gift, it's you tonight. Just above the world to see, stars will shine for you and me. The wonder and the mystery, the miracle of love.
Fantastic. This fellowship is important to us all. The contributions that we make today allow us to sustain and grow our congregation and to reach out to the community, both near and into the larger world. Your giving affirms our commitment to each other and to the community.
Sing the songs we know, sing the songs we know, walking in winter wonderland.
With grateful hearts, we receive these gifts. May they encourage us to live lives of integrity, compassion, and peace. We are grateful to all the people who make our Sunday services possible, all our various community activists, and present us to the outside world via newsletter and YouTube. And that includes everyone who cheers us on by being in the chairs today and in their comfortable chairs at home. And announcements. You'll note the announcements of the order of your service in the back. And you're probably aware we got our social supper after the service. Where are we going tonight? Fusion Bowl in Cornelius, little Asian food, very delicious. And of course, there's movies on Tuesday afternoon movies. Not this week. Okay, hey. New Year's Eve, you'll be going out to the movies? Very cool. Okay, so no movies this week. So with that, let's see, I guess I should talk about the announcements that are in here. Today we stand on traditional lands of the first people of North Carolina, including the Catawba, the Saponi Nation, the Shugri, is that how you pronounce that? Shugri, the Waxhaw Who, along with other tribes who made their homes along the Yadkin River system. Okay. What is now known as the Mecklenburg and Irwindale counties. We recognize the native communities in our religion today and extend our deepest gratitude to those who have stewarded this land and offer our respect to their elders, past, present, and future. Help for hurricane victims. The hurricane damage in West North Carolina and now in Florida is devastating, and the need for help will continue for months. Consider supporting the UUA Disaster Relief Fund, North Carolina Disaster Relief Fund, or Hospitality House of Northwestern North Carolina. More details in our newsletter and from Pat and Doug. Okay. Closing words by Pat Jobe.
May I make a quick announcement?
Yes, please.
For those of you who would like to have some candles to light during this week with your family, friends, close ones, or just by yourself, to honor whatever you feel like needs some honoring, some gratefulness, some appreciation, some hope for the future. Please, I put them on the table with your books, if you didn't mind, sir. And so please take whatever you need. And since we don't have a Christmas Eve service, the PUC does have one at 5 o'clock on Christmas Eve with the music and the regular type of Christmas Eve service. But please feel free to enjoy and light a candle, probably for all of us.
Yes. And I'm sure most people know that the PDUC, Piedmont Unitarian Congregation, and you probably know where that is and everything.
Ballard Creek Road. Good folks.
Fabulous. Any other announcements? Yeah, any other things that need to be brought to our attention? Shared?
When you're outside, there's some cake. Help yourself to a piece of cake if it doesn't spoil your lunch or dinner.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good. And did we do our closing song? No. We got to be ready for that now, huh? Closing song, number 100 in your book, Peace Like a River.
I got peace like a river, I got peace like a river, I got peace like a river in my soul. I got peace like a river, I got peace like a river, I got peace like a river in my soul. I got love like an ocean, I got love like an ocean, love like an ocean in my soul. I got love like an ocean, I got love like an ocean, love like an ocean in my soul. I
I got shoreline fountain, I got shoreline fountain, shoreline fountain in my soul. I got shoreline fountain, I got shoreline fountain, shoreline fountain in my soul. I got a little alligator, I got East Carolina River, East Loving Troy like a river in my soul. I got East Loving Troy, I got East Loving Troy, East Loving Troy like a river in my soul. Fired up. Fired up. Ready to go.
Yeah,
Eddie's just warmed up.
I know. Our closing words come from Thomas Paine. He may not have been a Unitarian, but he sure did think like one. He wrote an essay called The American Crisis, at a low point in the American Revolution, a time when the cause looked lost. He wrote, "Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its meaning. It is dearness only that gives everything its value. Maybe we should be careful what we treasure. Maybe we should be careful what we hold dear." And we got a thank you note from Hospitality House for the tons of stuff that Pat and Doug Wall have taken to Boone and for the money that they have raised.
All right. We close our service by extinguishing the light in the chalice and saying together the words in the order of our service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of commitment, or the glamour of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again.